Today, we are sailing back to the 1500s and the age of explorers. Hopefully, you've already checked out some of our other videos on explorers like Christopher Columbus and Amerigo Vespucci. Don't forget to like and subscribe to see all of our videos on famous explorers. And while Columbus and Vespucci are pretty famous, today we'll be talking about the explorer's version of a world champion, the one guy who holds the title for launching the first voyage to sail around the world, Ferdinand Magellan. Ferdinand Magellan is remembered for launching the first expedition to successfully circumnavigate the globe. Ferdinand Magellan was a Portuguese and later Spanish sailor. He was born in 1480 to a noble family in Sabrosa, Portugal, not far from Porto, a region famous around the world for its wines. When Magellan was 12, he and his brother moved to the country's capital, Lisbon, where they served as pages for the Queen. It was here that Magellan was inspired by the tales of exploration and learned about sailing, navigating, and reading maps. By 1505, Magellan and his brother were sailing as part of the Portuguese fleet. For 7 years, Magellan sailed around Africa and India, fighting in many battles and eventually being seriously wounded in 1513 while fighting in Morocco. The battle left him with a limp for the rest of his life. But Magellan hoped to do more than just fight battles. Back in Magellan's day, sailors, merchants, and entire countries were getting rich by finding exotic spices like cinnamon, clove, and even black pepper from Asia and bringing them back to Europe. Yes, the same black pepper you might have sprinkled on your lunch used to be a lot more expensive. Magellan wanted to command a fleet that would sail around the world and find a new route to make it easier to trade for these spices. He petitioned the King Manuel of Portugal to provide him with ships, but the king repeatedly turned him down. So, Magellan left Portugal and moved to Spain to try and get the attention of the Spanish king. During Magellan's life, sailors like Vasco da Gama had already proven that you could sail east to reach Asia by sailing around Africa and the Cape of Good Hope. However, no one had ever sailed west to reach Asia. Plus, Portugal controlled the eastward route to the Spice Islands, so the Spanish were looking for another route. King Charles of Spain, the grandson of the same King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, the monarchs who funded Christopher Columbus's voyage, eventually supplied Magellan with 5 ships and nearly 270 sailors in the hopes that Magellan could provide Spain with a new route to the Spice Islands. On August 10th, 1519, Magellan left his wife and his young son and set off on a voyage to circumnavigate the globe. Magellan and his 5 ships reached what is now South America after a month of sailing. The Armada struggled during the first few months of the voyage. Magellan had to stop a mutiny staged by some of his crew and ended up losing 2 ships. One was lost in a storm, and the crew of the other abandoned the mission and sailed back to Spain. But eventually, Magellan got a breakthrough as he found a shortcut through the bottom of South America, which we now know as the Strait of Magellan. Magellan hoped it would only take a few days to sail across what he called the Pacific Ocean, due to its gentle nature. However, it actually took a few months until Magellan's fleet eventually landed on what is now Guam. A number of men died of scurvy during this leg of the voyage. The exhausted crew eventually left Guam after killing a number of natives while battling over goods taken from some of the ships. Magellan then visited a number of eastern Philippine islands where he befriended and traded with a number of native tribes, thanks to his slave Enrique of Malacca, who was originally from modern-day Indonesia and served as a translator. He even met a local ruler named Raja Kalambu, who welcomed him. The fleet pushed on, exploring more islands, eventually pushing deeper into the Philippines with the help of Kalambu, where Magellan attempted to convert many of the locals to Christianity. However, one island, Mactan, resisted. So, Magellan and his crew attempted to convert them by force. However, in a fierce battle, the Mactan natives defeated Magellan and his crew, ultimately killing Ferdinand Magellan. With Magellan gone and the fleet losing yet another ship, a new captain by the name Juan Sebastian Elcano took over, and eventually Elcano was able to locate the Spice Island. The crews of the remaining 2 ships decided to split up for fear of being captured by one of the many Portuguese ships roaming the nearby seas. Elcano's ship continued journeying west, while the other went east. Only Juan Sebastian Elcano's ship, the Victoria, eventually completed the voyage. Of the estimated 270 men who joined the voyage, only 18 returned to Spain. And while the distance of the journey was far too great to use for trading at the time, Magellan helped vastly expand Europe's knowledge of the world, which was much larger than many had expected. And so, Magellan will always be remembered for spearheading the first successful voyage to circumnavigate the globe.